Little did I know when I lived here as a teenager in the 80s that Pittsburgh was a growing film community. But I found that out when I actually saw this ad in the paper asking for extras for the movie Gung Ho with Michael Keaton. I went to this large cattle call out in Duquesne, submitted my photo, but sadly, I never got called. 35 years later, I got cast in the chair as an extra, or a background as we like to call it. And I never thought that I would be a part of something so great. Pittsburgh has a thriving film community, and I like to call it the Hollywood of the East. Before we talk to some current members of the film community in Pittsburgh right here, we can't forget that Pittsburgh played a prominent role in the film industry back in the day. In fact, the first Nickelodeon theater, the movie theater, was here in Pittsburgh. 1905, it opened right here on Smithfield Street. Here's the location, but it's gone now. This Paramount sign right here on Boulevard of the Allies is probably one of the last remaining pieces of Pittsburgh's film history. This part of it is called Film Row. This is the building for the Paramount Film Exchange, where they'd screen movies in the 1920s before they went to just regular movie theaters. So right here was Film Row, and it wasn't just Paramount that had vaults and screening rooms. They also had MGM, 20th Century Fox, Warner Brothers, and Universal. Pittsburgh's film history laid the foundation for the industry we have today. Let's talk to some of the community members that make it happen. We first met up with local Pittsburgh actor Jeff Healy, who has been an extra and also a stand-in. I met Jeff doing the TV show The Chair, but we've been in a number of productions together, including the TV show A League of Their Own.
Let's see,
Okay.
that's when I saw them. I'm Jeff Healy. I started doing this about 10 years ago. My first show was Those Who Kill. My very first day on set, I got pulled in to be a stand-in, and that's how I was introduced to it, and I've been hooked ever since. The shows I've stood in on where I was a stand-in, Last Witch Hunter, I stood in for Michael Caine, which was just insane. I mean, that was beyond. Then I did a Concussion with David Morse, which started a continuation of, oh, David's coming to town, let's call Jeff. And then I did 2 seasons of Outsiders with him. Then Escape at Dannemora came to town, and I stood in for him here in Pittsburgh. And at the time, there was a New York casting company that was casting the show. And so I sent it in to them, and I'm coming home from Philadelphia, and I get a phone call. Hey, you've stood in for David before. And I said, oh, yeah. And they're like, well, can you come down? We'd like to meet you. And I said, sure. And I'm like, New York? She said, yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I'll be down. I get home, I tell my wife, I gotta go to New York. I walked down to the studio, I went down for the first interview. I'm sitting in there with they had a bunch of other women coming in, auditioning for the part. And I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, David comes in, and he looks at me, and he goes, Jeff, what are you doing here? I says, I'm hoping to be your stand-in again. And he goes, great. He goes, I'll talk to you later on. I drove home from New York that afternoon, and then they called me and told me that, okay, this is when we're going to be filming. J.O. Sanders, Nick Searcy, a television series called Manhunt, about the Olympic bomber, Manhunt Deadly Games. Last year, I stood in for Jeff Daniels on American Rust Season 2. It entails never being seen on camera. When they're setting up lighting and sound and camera angles, they're not paying an actor who's making money to do that. And so it's almost like you're a block of wood. They put you in. They want somebody who's similar size, similar coloring uh, to the actor. And then you'll stand there and they'll be like, well, look here, look there, look here. And then they adjust the lighting and they do all that while you're there. So when the actor comes in, he sits down, he does his lines, and he's done. So all of the beforehand stuff, sometimes they'll have you do the lines. 90% of the time they don't. They just want the look. They film it this way. And then they'll set the camera up behind you and film the other way. And so if they change something, you have to watch on the monitor so you can, oh, they don't want you looking here anymore, they want you looking there. And so you have to pay attention to all that. If they're walking into the room, how did they walk in? Did they stop? Did they pick something up? You have to just go through all their motions. So it's like you're mimicking the actor so they can get it right and don't have to play with it later on. Just, there are extra perks to being a stand-in. You know, you feel more a part of it. There's, when you're background and you're in a room with 100 other people, there's like a camaraderie. You just feel, wow, this is so cool. But when you're with the guys that are making it, there's a special camaraderie there too that background doesn't get to experience. And it's really cool. I've made a lot of friends on both sides. When you're a stand-in, you're on set almost every day, so the pay's better. You're more involved. You feel more a part of it. But I really like doing both. I mean, if they call me and they want me to do background, I'll do background. If they want me to do stand-in, I'm like, this is great. I'm thrilled to do stand-in work. It was really weird. The one day, David Morse, when I stood in for him on Outsiders, had that long wig. And they were having some difficulty with the wig. So everybody, all the first team actors were on set. And they wanted to run through the scene. And I don't know if you know Ryan Hurst. He played Little Foster. He played David Morse's son. Is a big man, big. And I'm about 2 inches shorter than David, 2-3 inches shorter. So Ryan is every bit of 6'5", and like all the other actors were on set. And it was a scene where he was really upset and like wanted to shoot himself, and his, you know, it was very dramatic. And then I was supposed to swat the gun away and punch him. And I'm like, I'm gonna punch Ryan Hurst. Oh my God. And you know, and then I knocked him down. And then when he was on the ground, I was supposed to be over top of him, like I was gonna continue the beating. And I'm like, all right, there's no way in the world that this would ever happen. But he was so cool. He was so generous. He goes, just be natural, Jeff. And it was awesome, you know. And so that was really cool that I got to like act a scene with all these guys. And they were so generous. It was really something special. I mean, Pittsburgh crews are renowned. I mean, they do such an excellent job. I love seeing Pittsburgh on camera, like, you know, like, oh, that's where that is, or, oh, they're going through the Liberty Tunnel. Why are they coming out of the 10th Street Tunnel? Or, wait a minute, what bridge is that? And it's just fun to like associate the landmarks with where you grew up. And it's an awesome experience. Everybody's so nice. Your first day on set, you're just wide-eyed and like a kid in a candy store. Some people love doing it. Some people, they do one day and they're like, I can never do this because it's a lot of hurry up and wait. And if you enjoy the process, it's really something to be cool with. I do want to mention, when I did The Last Witch Hunter, I stood in for Michael Caine. Or the first time I ever really stood in for like, I did it for like a week on the show with him. And Michael Caine is laying in a bed. He's like dying. The camera guy was so cool. He looks at me and goes, Jeff, is that how he was laying? I'm like, well, no. And he said, everything is important. where he looked, how he laid. And he was like very generous with his time and letting me know all the little things matter. So like if you look here, if he moves a cup, it all matters. So you really have to pay attention. And he could have just been a jerk and said, okay, he can't do this, get him out of here. But because they were in Pittsburgh, everybody's so new, everything's so different. He took a couple minutes with me and explained to me as a first timer, everything you do matters.
One of Pittsburgh's movie studios is right here in Crafton. Studio manager Sam Sandora gave us a tour and told us about the business here in Pittsburgh.
My name is Sam Sandora. I'm the general manager of Three River Studios here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're located in Robinson Township, which is kind of nice. We're 12 minutes from the airport, 12 minutes from downtown Pittsburgh. You don't have to go through any tunnels to get to our studio, which people like. Three River Studios has been in operation about 5 years. I guess we had to go through a process of getting hooked up with Robinson Township to get the permits to open up for business, occupancy. Then it took about 13 months to get the accreditation with the state of Pennsylvania, which gives us the tax credit that we can offer to any production that comes in. So tax credits are kind of nice. You can get like a 30% tax rebate, basically, if you shoot the production in Pennsylvania. So it's a great incentive to have people come to Pennsylvania. Pittsburgh in general is a great facility with stages. We have 4 or 5 sound stages in this region. We have great crews that work here, great talent, and the tax credit also is the icing on the cake that really brings Hollywood and New York to Pittsburgh. Right now we're on the set of a Lee Daniels film called The Deliverance, and that might be a working title, but they're shooting some pickup shots right now. That film will be coming out on Netflix relatively soon. We finished up an Ethan Coen movie called Drive Away Dolls, which just started in theaters yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we're excited about that film. To have one of the Coen brothers in here shooting a movie was pretty awesome. Great cast. They always have great casts and ensembles with the film. But they were here like 7 months shooting their film. Prior to that, we had A League of Their Own, which is a Sony Pictures project, television series based on the movie, the 1992 movie. And that was a giant production. We did that in conjunction with Amazon Prime. That's where the show currently airs. And there were like 350 people on staff. And then on shoot days, upwards of 700 people here or on location. We're on 14 acres at the studio, so that comes in real handy because they had 70 transportation trucks. And then all the parking for this many people, 350 people, up to 700. Crazy. It's kind of interesting. Transportation, they kind of label what they do, and the production calls it base camp because it's literally like a military operation. You have all these different core people coming in, staff-wise, production people. You have the creative side, the directors, the writers, the producers. But you have different departments, scenic, production design, set decoration, painters, people that stain everything, all the different woodwork, all these craft people, welders, builders, you've got lighting people. It's an amazing process that everybody works as a unit. And again, almost in a military style. Everybody has to work together and in concert to create these productions. And it's magic when you look at credits at the end and wonder, wow, why all these people? It takes a lot to produce a film or a television series. When we do a production here in Pittsburgh, there's above the line and below the line. Typically above the line are people from Los Angeles. They might be the creators of the showrunners, the producers. And then the below the line are the crew people, the painters, the grips, the people that work on the sets, building the sets. So it's a mixture. Um, I would say maybe 60% might have been from Los Angeles on some of these productions. 40% were local in terms of crews. They like to hire local crews. And we do have strong crews in Pittsburgh to work on all these different facets of production. So it's always a healthy mix. And there's an incentive, I think, for them to hire local as well for the productions to come in. You know, we use advanced technology. For years, it's been a green screen that you would use, and we'll look at that and see how that works when we're inside that stage. But it's gotten more advanced with AI. There's things called LED screens, which will basically replace the green screen. It gives the actors the ability to be immersed in a scene with LED panels behind them, and it actually shows the scene on LED. So they're literally immersed on a scene that can be changed instantaneously too with technology. Aside from film and television, we also have worked on short films, low budget films, music videos, corporate work, television commercials. There's lots of those things. I think one of the most bizarre projects, a group came in and said, listen, we want to set up a staging for a band, and we're going to bring the band in and show them how sophisticated we have for staging using pyrotechniques, LED, lasers, and they set all this up. I needed to have the fire department here, and actually I had to go to New York that day, so they were doing all the prep. I think it was Aerosmith that came in, and this group just presented Aerosmith. This is what the staging would look like if you wanted to do this on your next tour. And I mean, fireworks within a studio facility, pyrotechniques. It was pretty elaborate. You know, it's great. I mean, I've worked in Los Angeles for a number of years. I've worked in Florida at Disney for a lot of years. I think there's so many great places across the country where production is being done. Why? Well, mostly because of the expense in Los Angeles or New York. And it's crazy to try to do anything out there cost-wise. So that's why many of the productions leave Los Angeles, leave New York, and come to cities like Pittsburgh. And as far as the nation goes, I mean, we're highly ranked. Atlanta's probably crushing it more than anybody, in Georgia in general. We fall somewhere in the middle after that. You know, we have lots. We bring, you know, lots of productions in. I think we had 7 or 8 last year in Pittsburgh. And over the last 20 years, we've done major productions in this city. And part of that is because Hollywood loves Pittsburgh a lot. We have great looks geographically. You know, people love to come here and use our city. I mean, Dark Knight that was shot here, you know, doubled for New York City. And the director, the more he stayed here, he was only supposed to be here 3 days. He wound up staying 2 weeks, shooting stuff that he would have shot in New York. And he goes, why would we want to do that? Why would we want to go to New York and have to do all the delays and red tape? Pittsburgh's very friendly to the filmmaking process. You know, if you need a street blocked, boom, it's done. People don't care. They don't whine and complain a lot. So that part's good, the advantage of having a city that's very accommodating to film. League of Their Own was here shooting. We actually had turned this into a factory set. If you look it up, all the window banks, and it looks like a factory.
Yeah.
And that's where they had the, you know,
airplanes.
Airplane fuselages.
Yes.
And it was really nice to have that in here. It really looked great on camera. Massive. It's 5,400 square feet stage, and this is 44 feet by 43 feet, 24-foot ceilings. Mm-hmm. So we've done lots of shoots on here. Ethan Cohen did all the car scenes that had dialogue. Were shot here. So the
that's
cars
really
were
cool.
Put in place. If you have the technology to do an app, you can change the background. One put us in Paris.
We could.
You can put us by the ocean.
We'll see if we can do that.
That's your job. Come
okay,
on,
we'll figure it. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, we mentioned the Ethan Coen movie Drive Away Dolls.
Yes.
So here, this is a statue of Ponce de Leon, which they couldn't fit it on the truck, so they said, you know, do you want it at a certain point? So it comes in at the end of the movie, but
Yeah.
it's a beautiful statue. So if we get to keep it, we'll probably put it in the kitchen or somewhere. When League of Their Own was here, the whole first floor of the house was built here.
Oh yeah, the house.
And then if you pan to the right, over here was the dugout underneath the stadium, and the showers and bathrooms. This was a creepy basement for storage, and they turned this into the bar scene, which...
Oh, but this looks so
all
good when they
painted.
did it. Yeah, the bar was right here,
Yeah.
and then there was an office. So
Yeah, the office was, they built, I think, inside there. Then there was a second office.
and then we escape. We go into that, and then we come out at the Benedum, like
Right.
we're through the alleyway.
Yeah.
That's where we come
Now
from.
you're giving away the trade secrets. And there's 4 kitchens in the building.
Oh wow.
Allows caterers to prepare all the meals on site if they need to do that.
Yeah.
Or if it's already prepared, there's warming ovens, and you know, we've got, I don't know how many different ovens.
Wow.
And convection ovens. But this is a studio.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming in,
Yeah.
lady. Good to see you.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
My name is Susan Coyle, and I'm a key second AD. And what a second AD does is they get the schedule from my boss, who's the first AD, and I take that information and I go to the departments, find out what kind of equipment they need, what kind of pre-call they need for the next day. I also let the actors know what scene they're doing, what their call time is. I talk to hair, makeup, and wardrobe every day to figure out if they need a haircut before, if they have to do their makeup, you know, for bruising, or how many times they have to change their wardrobe. So that's just part of it. And then also I help with all the logistics of how do we get the company into a certain area, how we get them out, how we move the trucks. So I really just deal with all the departments. One of my favorites of the past has been Concussion, which was great, with Will Smith. I love that movie, had a great time on that. And also Warrior, which was a phenomenal film. It went on forever, and we were pretty excited to see how well it turned out. But I've also done TV shows, Super Ninjas, Archive 81, oh gosh, $1. I can't even think at this point. So yeah, I've done a bunch of films here, and the new Ethan Coen film that's coming out, which is going to be fun to watch, and Deliverance by Lee Daniels. To become a second assistant director, you need 600 days as a set PA. So you have to turn in all your days to the Directors Guild, and your time cards and all of your pay stubs and call sheets in order to do that. And then you get into the Directors Guild, and then you have to find your first job. So it takes about 4 years to do that. I'm seeing a lot of UPMs now, female UPMs, which I haven't in the past, a unit production manager. And they're the ones who are in charge of the budget of the film. And so that's really been the biggest change I've seen. It was obviously hard to get in when I got in 2000 into the women's, or into the Directors Guild, because a lot of women were not key second ADs at that point. They were more seconds, or they worked a lot in TV, and that was mainly in Los Angeles. So yeah, a lot more directors now too, female directors. On Where'd You Go, Bernadette, which was Kate Blanchett, and Richard Linklater directed that. And we filmed in Pittsburgh. We filmed a week in Seattle, and then we also filmed a week on a boat in Greenland. So we didn't get off the boat for a whole week. We filmed the entire time on the boat. And so we would get out on Zodiacs and get into the water every day. And we hadn't scouted it. So when we got there, we flew there, got there, unloaded all of our equipment, and then tried to figure out how we were going to shoot in these Zodiacs and get lifted off the boat every day. And when we went, it was summer, but it was still like 20 degrees. And the water was so cold, if you fell in it, you'd have about a minute to live. It was that cold. And this one time we had Kate Blanchett on a Zodiac, her own Zodiac, and a whale just came out of nowhere and almost capsized her. And so that was pretty scary. But after that, we got stuck in a hurricane in Greenland for a day and a half. And we were trying to get back because we had to fly out at a certain time because it was a chartered flight. And we had to make a turn to go into this fjord. And we couldn't turn because we would capsize the boat because of the hurricane. So we had to bob there for a day and a half. And finally, it calmed down enough and we all braced ourselves and they went around the corner and we made it. But yeah, I was never in a hurricane before, and especially out there. We had no cell service, there was no internet, so people were kind of wondering what happened to us. And on the flight back, coming back to the United States, we had such bad turbulence, but since we had all been tossed around for a day and a half, we didn't even have our seatbelts on, we're walking around. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, but that was a great film. When I moved back here, I moved from Los Angeles, and I was planning on getting out of the business, but then the film business came here. And so I was very fortunate in order to have children and not have to leave them. And so I usually don't travel because of that, but it's been great because the tax incentive has been able to give a lot of people jobs here. And it's been great. I mean, I get to see my kids every night, whether they're sleeping or not, but at least I'm home. So that's pretty important.
Next, I got to talk to Melissa Yancey, who also works behind the scenes. She's a costumer and a designer.
Hi, I'm Melissa Yancey. I'm an IATSE set costumer and a freelance designer. I've worked on a lot of things here in Pittsburgh. I've worked on both seasons of American Rust, and I hope to work on the third season if that comes back. Fingers crossed. I worked on Pale Blue Eye. That was a great honor. Really loved that. Worked on a handful of independent projects and commercials here. Did some background work on Drive Away Dolls. I'm currently Jeremy Renner's costumer on Mayor of Kingstown Season 3. Hands down, the wildest, most intricate, physically heaviest costumes I've ever worked with was on Pale Blue Eye. The amount of wool was out of control. The gilding, the embroidery, the giant sleeves, the uniforms, Pale Blue Eye, hands down, the most intricate, intense costumes that I've worked on. When I'm not working on film, I'm talking about film, I'm watching films. All of my friends work in film, so my life is very film-centered. Here in Pittsburgh, I would say that it's an absolutely welcoming film community. I have, I think, literally one friend that doesn't work in the industry. Everybody else, I moved here for a film, immediately welcomed with open arms into the industry. All my IATSE kid, immediately just so warm. You're just really you're surrounded by like-minded people, which is really nice. I think film in general is kind of an interesting community of misfits, and we all kind of jive in a way that's really nice here, and it's very small. I've had the opportunity to travel a bit for work, and I worked in an industry on the West Coast as well, and those markets are a bit larger, so it's harder to mesh with everybody. There's just so many, it's just a bigger pool, and it's so close and tight-knit here. It's really nice. It's a good community. I'm happy to be a part of it. Working in film in Pittsburgh it's been such a positive experience. I'm originally from California. People often say, what, you moved from working in LA and San Diego and Southern California to Pittsburgh to work in film? It seems counterintuitive, but it's really, the quality of life it's it's amazing here in Pittsburgh. Working in film, it's so sustainable, or has been up until the strikes. I went from truly starving artist to like a thriving career in the film industry. It's very welcoming. It's been a wonderful time working here in film, and I hope to keep doing it. I believe that film in general is great for community. It's great for local economics. I think it's an integral part of Pittsburgh right now. Its history, its future. I think that continuing to feed and support film here is going to be beneficial for hopefully decades to come. I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
That is a nice ending. One place I couldn't miss was the Pittsburgh Film Office downtown. Don Keezer, the executive director, spoke about our growing film industry.
I'm Don Keezer, executive director of Pittsburgh Film Office. The Pittsburgh Film Office is an economic development agency that markets all of southwestern Pennsylvania, the 10-county area, to the film, TV, streaming industries, really. Anyone rolling any kind of moving images. So commercials, music videos, documentaries. We work with everyone, student films, but we're the one-stop shop. So they come through here and we're the ones who help them get permits, help them find crew, help them find locations. We're really the ones helping to really grow the industry, help move the industry along, and help people realize their dreams and get their projects made at the same time. In southwestern Pennsylvania, over 5,000 people work and live in this industry on a full-time basis. That's a lot of our local crew. These are businesses that rely on this industry for some or part of their overhead. We had a study done in 2016 that came up with those numbers. My guess is it's a little more, but right now it's 5,000 people. 20,000 statewide. So in southwestern Pennsylvania, we do not have a single purpose-built soundstage facility. We have repurposed warehouses. There is a distinction in that Philly has purpose-built stages, and we're hoping to have one here soon, one day. But there's at least 5 of repurposed warehouses. That doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they added soundproofing, they've added the grid, they've added to these old warehouses so that it makes it usable for production. But we're really hoping when we can get a purpose-built stage, we're able to include all those new technologies that are making filming so exciting these days. Okay. We've been making movies here since 1914. The first movie was Perils of Pauline. It was one of those silent movies where the woman's laying on the railroad tracks. We really got our start in 1968 with Night of the Living Dead. That's really what we credit with starting the commercial industry that we know today. The Film Office started in 1990 with Silence of the Lambs. I tell you all this because we've been doing it a long time. Now, with the advent of incentives, Pennsylvania was the 3rd state in. New Mexico was 1st, Louisiana was 2nd, Pennsylvania was 3rd with an incentive. This was 18 years ago, known as the Film Tax Credit Program. At the time, it was great because we were at the leading edge. Now we're very far behind. We haven't stayed competitive with the other states who've really sunk a lot of their plans and their futures and their economic development plans. New Jersey went to a $500 million program. New York is at $710 million. Our friends over in Ohio just went to $70 million. They've been at 40 this whole time. Pennsylvania's at $100 million. Georgia is uncapped. They don't ever run out of money. And last year they did $6.6 billion with a B dollars worth of business. Pennsylvania, we just haven't been able to stay competitive because of a lack of an incentive. This industry is a mobile industry. You can look at it as mobile manufacturing. They can go anywhere in the world. So as much as they may want to be in Pennsylvania, and they really want to be in southwestern Pennsylvania when they're here, our crew is some of the best in the country. We have an incredible diversity of locations that can look like anywhere in the world, except for the beach or the desert. Those are the 2 things we're kind of missing, but we send them up to Erie for that. It's a challenge to stay competitive when we don't have the incentives to keep up with the business side of how this industry is run. So we launched Create PA last year, and that's our workforce training program. It's done in partnership with the Pittsburgh Public Theater and our IATSE unions. That's the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees. The partnership with the union is what makes it unique. The only other place this has happened is in New York, and it's really about creating training and opportunities for people to have a way in to joining this industry. The people who work behind the camera and behind the stage, it's the same union, but it's kind of opaque. It's almost impossible to know the pathway to get those jobs. So by launching Create PA with support both from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and Citizens Bank, they're our first large corporate sponsor, we've trained 97 individuals last year. We're launching programming that will start this spring, and we'll be doing makeup, we're doing accounting, we're doing construction, we're doing set decorating, and we've got a couple one-day workshops that'll teach you how to do millinery, if you will, hat making for the theater. And those will all be advertised, and people should feel free to join us and come learn more about the training. Our goal with the training was twofold. One was to increase the size of our crew, because we learned during COVID, we just don't have enough people. So we needed more, so it was a way to train. And it was also to really focus on the lack of diversity in our industry. We haven't done a great job here, nor has anyone in this industry, so this was a way to reach out to prime-aged adults, 18 plus, that are ready to go to work, that may not look like everybody else, but looks like the people who live here. The people who are on the other side of that camera, we want them to represent the same people who look like everybody in southwestern PA. So we've had a great run of the first programs, and we're excited about it continuing. But Create PA, soon it will have its own website. Right now it's all housed on ours at pghfilm.org. And then the last thing is we do have a podcast, Screen Perspectives, and that's where we interview people who are in positions of power, if you will. These are producers, these are decision makers, and we talk to them about their career path in the industry, so people learn how they got there. And it's been fascinating. For me, it's been so much fun, because I drive around in the car with some of these people looking at locations. I hear the stories, but Screen Perspectives allow us to share the stories, and everyone's gone about it different. There is no pathway to success in this industry. It's all about how you make it work. Everyone starts as a production assistant. Steven Spielberg started as a production assistant. He spoke about it at the Golden Globes. This is not like being a lawyer, where you go to law school, you pass the bar, poof, you're in the film industry. Everyone starts at the bottom and works their way up. So we're just trying to teach people the different pathways. So we're excited about that. So the Pittsburgh Film Office is a 501c3 nonprofit. So we raise all our funds to keep this place operational. We're huge. I have a full-time staff of 4. That includes me. Our operating budget's under $1 million, and we bring in reliably over $150 million a year to this region's economy from the work of the industry that comes in. We have one fundraiser. It's Lights, Glamour, Action. It's usually held the Saturday before Oscar night. This year it'll be on March 9th. Open to the public. It's a way to come celebrate the industry. It's a fun time. People get dressed up. They wear a black tie. They sometimes dress as their favorite movie star. One year we had both Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne. And, a couple years ago, Billy Porter was actually there. So he was dressed as himself, but that was really cool. We do a live auction at the event that's also online. So there's places to do that as well. And we have a website, pghfilm.org. You can find all that information there. But really, the most important thing that people can do is support the film industry in southwestern PA. And to do that, be film friendly when they're in your neighborhood. If there's an issue, call us. We'll help you. Because sometimes there's a problem if they've blocked your driveway and you need to get out and you can't find someone. Call the film office. We're here. We're the ones who help the community and help the industry. Make sure everybody gets what they need. But also support the film tax credit. Speak with your legislators. Write letters. Write to the governor. Explain that the film tax credits matter, because it's really the driving force. We have $100 million. Without the tax credits, there is no work. And we've proven it time and time again. The program's turning 18. We're really hopeful to go to $300 million in July. So we're right now starting the process of the budget process, reaching out to legislators, telling them it matters. Telling them it matters to you and why. You talked about your experience in the industry. They need to hear from everyone. You need to speak to your local legislators. So, that's really it. We have been on a great run. The film office has been here 35 years. I've been here for 29 of it now. I started when I was 5, for those of you doing the math. But the good news is people really want to be in southwestern PA. They love filming here. They love our crew. They love the ability to meet the local people. And they return because of how film-friendly southwestern Pennsylvania is. So I would just encourage everyone to continue doing that. And then, when you see your legislators out and about, tell them, support the tax credit, increase it. We need more funds to bring more work in so that everybody can be working.
As the movie-making business in Pittsburgh continues to grow, I look forward to being part of more productions in our Hollywood of the East.
I don't know that they filmed a lot of it in Pittsburgh, but Deer Hunter, because it was about Pittsburgh, and I was a young guy in high school, and just I'm a history buff and like Vietnam, and I had an uncle who served, and I love Robert De Niro. Christopher Walken, that was the first thing I remember seeing him in, and so that was really cool.
My personal favorite is probably Dark Knight Rises. That was the hardest project I've worked on, just given all the work that had to happen. It never could have happened without the partnerships we have with the elected officials and leadership, both in Pittsburgh and Allegheny County. We shut downtown down for almost 12 full days for people to drive the Batmobile around. It was amazing.
As far as maybe technically and story-wise, Silence of the Lambs, by far, is my favorite. Jonathan Demme directing, and you know, you can't go wrong with that kind of film. It was just riveting to see, and great cast, great ensemble.
You know what? I'm going to have to say, Drive Away Dolls. I had a great time on that movie. That was, Ethan Cohen was a dream to work with. It was. I hope he comes back.
Favorite movie made in Pittsburgh? It's a little tough. I've been thinking about this, but I think I've determined it's Zach and Miri Make a Porno. It's classic. A new classic.
Well, my favorite, it's Flashdance.